Mixtape has been one of the more controversial games of 2026, as this game has sparked debates on whether you could truly call this a game, and people are calling out its story, whereas on the other side you have publications calling it a masterpiece. So is this a case of journalists being out of touch? Or is there genuinely something special here? First of all, I want to start by saying I am not the type of person who enjoys these types of games. I've always been adamant that story does not really matter in video games. This is just a personal preference. I totally get how it matters for a lot of people, and it's often considered a highly important factor for people's favorite games. But for me personally, it just doesn't bother me at all. If I came for the gameplay and it's good, I'll stay for the gameplay and just focus on that. Considering all that, I went into this knowing it was a story-focused game, and that definitely changed my outlook on this game. Like, I wasn't gonna go into this knowing it was mostly about the story, then complain it had too much story and not enough gameplay. I set my expectations and was not surprised by the game's direction. However, I didn't realize I would come to really enjoy the blend of narrative and interactivity this game goes for. I wasn't really expecting mind-blowing gameplay, yet I feel like the game had such a creative way of expressing its story through gameplay. What I mean by this is, I found the little activities you did to be really immersive. Nothing here was blowing my mind, but everything had this playful charm to it, and I think that pairs well with the themes of this story. It's not about taking things seriously, but more just hanging out with your friends and messing around. There were plenty of sections in the game that allowed you to customize your experience, like the slushy section, choosing the movies, and painting the door. Honestly, I would have liked a bit more expressiveness from these moments, cause I feel like that's in line with the theme of the story, being that it is about music. But it's not a huge complaint. In general, the gameplay just felt calming, and although it's nothing like the types of games I'd usually enjoy, I came to enjoy the slight interactivity this game went for. But I think the greatest strength of this game is its flex of artistic expression. You're not really changing the story and fitting it to your own, which is a bit disorientating, as I feel like that's what most video game stories are about, but instead you're basically watching a movie with slight elements of interactivity. Instead of creating your own adventure, you're hearing out the developer's story and strapping in for the journey. When I compared this game more to movies and shows, this journey clicked a lot more for me. I mean, it was published by Annapurna, so I guess it makes sense they'd want to publish a game like this, and when I was able to see it this way, it gave me similar vibes to the movie Intergalactic. This is honestly one of my favorite movies of all time, and not only is it similar in terms of its animation, but it's also kind of structured the same as Mixtape. It's an album from Kid Cudi that's been transformed into a movie, and therefore each song represents a pivotal moment of the story. Mixtape feels very similar, but instead of being an album with original songs, it tries to use existing songs to represent the story. And I mean, I'm not gonna pretend this is necessarily my style of music, but I did enjoy the vibe of each song and thought its moment in the story was suitable. I personally would love to see a more modern version of the game come out, but really that's just credit to the developers who had such an amazing idea for a game. I hope other developers are inspired by this gameplay / story through music idea, cause I think there's a better version of this game if a few things were ironed out. Like, my ideal version of this game would keep all the graphics, add more challenging gameplay segments, and have a bit more personal drama in the story. Also, the game would be set in a dystopian future, and the soundtrack would be like futuristic EDM. But that's just my ideal version of the game suited to my tastes. But I don't really see that as a critique of what the game should have been. I can appreciate this game for what it is. At the end of the day, I'm still not mind blown by this game. I'd give it like a 7.5, and I think the conclusion to the story feels a bit too convenient. I wish Cass and O'Dad had a better resolution, cause it didn't really feel earned, but I will say the wholesome characters and beauty of its world really sucked me into a genre I typically would never enjoy. So in the end, I was pleasantly surprised with how much this game stuck with me. If you're a fan of coming of age stories, this one is really sweet, and offers something I haven't seen before. Maybe I'm inexperienced with the genre and this isn't that groundbreaking, but for me, this was a very unique experience and was absolutely worth my time.